Hey, 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 fellow traders! This is Coach John, and today we are releasing another e-learning session. Today's title, see it on your screen at the bottom, You Know Better. So why aren't you doing better? I'll say that again. You know better. So why aren't you doing better? Today, I'm going to start with a few life parables, and I promise you we'll bring this directly back to trading. Because if I only speak through the lens of charts, bots, automation, or setups, you'll intellectualize it. You'll agree. You'll say, yes, that makes sense because I've experienced that. And you'll miss the real issue. You'll miss the real issue completely. Trading does not expose a flaw in your strategy. It exposes a pattern in your behavior. And that pattern shows up everywhere in your life, everywhere and in trading. There's something called the knowing doing gap. The term was popularized by two Stanford professors who observed that individuals and organizations often know exactly what works, yet fail to execute it consistently. That, that's the gap. Knowing what works, not doing what works. If you're a discretionary trader, you know your rules, you know your edge, you know your risk parameters, and yet you override them. If you're an algorithmic or bot based, you know your system works long term. You know the back testing, you know the statistical edge, and yet you turn it off after a drawdown. You interfere, you size up emotionally, you stop the system right before it recovers. Different vehicle, same gap, guys. Same gap. You do not trade according to what you know. You trade according to your programming. And your programming is emotional. It's nervous system driven. It's identity based. Just imagine any restrictive diet. You limit your eating because you want a specific outcome. Doesn't matter if it's low calorie, low carb, it's a limit. Before you break it, and you always do, you imagine the taste of what you're about to cheat with. You justify it. You say, just this once, I've done really good. And at the same time, you cognitively know how you'll feel afterwards. You eat it anyway, and afterwards you'll say, that wasn't worth it. And yet, next time, you repeat the cycle. A diet is restrictive by design. Trading is restrictive by design. Your plan limits you. Your system limits you. Your algorithm limits you. The moment you say, I'll just take this extra trade, I'll just override the bot, I'll just adjust the parameters, I'll move my stop, I'll do whatever, I'll just double size here. You're choosing emotional relief over long-term results. You are choosing immediate emotional relief over long-term results. And you already know the outcome. This is not a knowledge problem. This is an embodiment problem. Under pressure, your nervous system seeks relief and control. That's biological. That's a biological process, and it overrides rational logic every time. For discretionary traders, that looks like impulse. For algorithmic traders, that looks like interference. If you identify with the idea that you're an inconsistent trader, your behavior confirms it. If your nervous system is dysregulated, you will seek control instead of discipline. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm hosting a complimentary webinar. This webinar is calibration. What is calibration? It's aligning your thinking, your nervous system, and your execution so your trading finally produces the consistency and the probability you know it should. Not necessarily what you're getting, but what it should. During this webinar, we'll walk you through a structured performance assessment that measures your knowing doing gap in real time. You'll score yourself on rule adherence, emotional interference, system override behavior, sizing discipline, recovery patterns, after losses, nervous system stability under pressure, and at the end of this process, you'll get a score. That score represents the profit leaking right out. If your score makes you blink even slightly, that's awareness. Because the real question is not, does this affect my trading? The real question is, how much is the gap costing me? If you really, really want your next level, you must close the gap between knowing and doing. You must. So guys, attend live. Go through the calibration, get your score. Let's measure it. That's what we do as traders. We measure things. Directly below this video in the description is the link to register for the complimentary calibration webinar. Most traders discover their gap is costing far more. Far more. I'll see you in the webinar.